All right, day two of the Tell Me Your Story, Dad video series that I'm making for my kids. And today is Thursday, April 24th, 2025. It's about 8:30 in the morning or so. I was just doing some follow-up work that I had from the other day, and now I'm on the road down to the office. So Jonathan just dropped you off at school, your TK classes. Nikki gave you a big hug and a kiss at home while you were getting ready to enjoy a day with Mom. And Sissy, you were still fast asleep when I left, which is kind of nice because you were up a couple times last night and we're a little tired. But that's okay. That's part of having kids. Okay, so I was born in 1986, and this is talking about happened the year you were born. So I might skip this section because I don't have a clue what happened the year I was born. You can Google that stuff. GTS. Notable events. Who won the Academy Award? Don't care. I think in 86 the Challenger exploded, the NASA Space Shuttle Challenger. That was pretty wild. I was a baby, didn't really notice it. Song on top of the charts, president's lead, the president, country's leader, top popular television shows, prices of following us. This is stuff that you can Google. You don't need me to tell you. So we'll skip that. We're gonna go to this next section called Growing Up. How would you describe yourself when you were a kid? I was a rebel. I was rebellious. I was rambunctious. I was a wild child. I definitely caused my parents a lot of headaches, which I'm sure I'm going to pay for with you kids when you get a little older. I'm sure you're gonna pay me back for that one. You know, as a little kid, you know, when I was about where my kids are now, you know, 5-ish and younger, we lived in a little house in the mountains over Glendale. And it was very off the beaten path. It was the address was 1018-1018 Marengo Drive in Glendale, California. That's the first house I really remember. We lived in a townhome near the La Cañada Country Club when I was born, when I was a little baby. But I don't have any memories of that growing up. My first memories really are when we moved into the house in Glendale. And I loved that house. It was on, you know, a sloped, like a tiered slope neighborhood. So we had a great view. We had a hot tub in the back, which, you know, again, when you're a kid, everything seems so big. So I remember that hot tub being the size of like a giant pool. I'm sure it was just a regular hot tub. But that was the house that I remember growing up in. Focus. So how was I as a child? I remember at 10:18 making my brother Chris eat dog food, dry dog food. I convinced him they were Cocoa Pebbles. Got in trouble for that. I remember we used to play fireman, the Glendale Fire Department, because we're at the end of this cul-de-sac. At the top of this mountain, the Glendale Fire Department used to come out and they would do their drills. So they'd run hose line and they'd practice putting out fires and you know, stuff like that. And so what we would do is, I think David, my brother David was around at this time, maybe Daniel, I don't remember, but we were little. And my parents bought us these, like, you know, fake turnouts, which are like the yellow firefighter coats you see them wear. And we used to love putting those on and going down to the end of the street at the cul-de-sac where they would be running their line and like playing firemen with them. And they were always great sports, you know, it gives us stickers. So I remember doing that. Sorry, my work phone is blown up. We used to ride our bikes, you know, it was a cul-de-sac, so you kind of get this false sense of security. In fact, kids, it's kind of like where you grew up now. We live at the top of a mountain at the end of a cul-de-sac. And I remember riding my bike one time with my brother Chris, and we were playing cops and robbers. And I want to say he was the cop, I was the robber. So he was chasing me on the bike, and we're riding around on the street. And a lady in a white Lexus, it was a sedan, was flying down the street. And she was a neighbor. We knew who she was, and she used to drive fast. And I saw her coming down the street and thought, oh my God, I gotta get out of the street. I rode out as fast as I could, and Chris tried to follow me because he was the cop, and he rode right in front of her, and she creamed him. And I thought, oh my God, my brother's dead. He just got hit by a car on his bike. And it was the most surreal experience. Chris bounced up. I don't even think he was really injured. I remember he wet his pants, and he was freaked out about that. And we were just like, it's okay, man. You just got hit by a car. And then as we got a little older, when I was in 5th grade, we moved to 4242 Oakwood Avenue in La Cañada. And that was the house that I really grew up in, right? After being in 5th grade, my teenage years, all the way to college. That's what I consider my home. 1018 was the house where I was a little kid. And then 4242 was like my home. And yeah, I still miss that house. That was such a great house. My dad built that house, so little backstory. They bought 4242 Oakwood Avenue because of the lot. And it's in La Cañada. It's a big lot. It's a horse property next to the horse trail. We didn't have horses, but my dad wanted the size of the lot. And so on the lot was this tiny little house. And my dad, I remember when he bought it, we all came from the Glendale house, and we watched as a bulldozer took out the house that was on the property. Just bulldozed it right to the ground. This had to have been 1999 or 2000, right around there. And then my dad built our dream home. And I gotta tell you, to this day, for me, was the dream home. It was, every kid had their own bedroom. Every kid had their own walk-in closet. Kids shared a bathroom, but I mean, it was huge. It was not a realistic way to grow up. I definitely grew up in a childhood that was not normal. My dad had a lot of money, and so my dad and mom, they did a lot to give us kind of that dream childhood. As I got older, again, kind of keeping with that sort of rebel attitude that I had, I became a skateboarder. Yeah, I dabbled in rollerblading first, I think when I was, probably 10 or 12. Rollerbladed for a bit, then became a skateboarder, eventually a BMX biker, but it was all about like the extreme sports. In the 70s and 80s, skateboarding was kind of becoming this new extreme sport, and of course in the 90s, it was sort of like this subculture of people who were just the misfits. Let me pause, I'm getting a work phone.